and so we can move forward. So hello everyone. Today is another episode of Break the Walls, and today with me, Steven Freidmutter, and today we will talk about personal experience of Steven, his life, journey, supporting businesses and communities in different places in the world. And just, it will be an amazing episode to talk about experience sharing and lifelong story of building successful brands and helping people to move forward. So, Steven, I want to ask you a couple of words to express yourself, to give us an introduction, because that's amazing. I'm so excited.
Sure. Okay, Tyler, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me onto the show. Um, I'm 70 years old. I split my time between Cape Town, South Africa, and Ithaca, New York, where Cornell University is. And my focus for the last bunch of years has been investing in early stage African tech companies and basically, really supporting people.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry.
I will actually edit this.
Yeah. Um, there's so much need from young people to have older people with experience to help them get started, especially in places like Africa, where there's not a lot of startup money around. So I've been heavily invested in, I'm invested in 25 African countries, 100 startups, and with like a dozen or so that are in my personal portfolio, and the others are with funds and other partnerships.
Wow, that's really amazing. So, yeah, long story actually explain, yeah, I would say whole life just of yours explaining that type of work and experience. So I'm curious to ask you, uh, what is what is the passion here? Why you selected that companies? Why you selected that route? Because that's really unique. No, I don't know a lot of people who are supporting that type of product, that type of businesses, that type of, let's say, community. So it's interesting what is your passion behind it and why you continue doing that mission. Yeah.
That's a great question, and I have a very specific answer. It's like um, a couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with a terminal disease, so I have basically total kidney failure, and they told me I would die, and that was 3 years ago, and I didn't die, and I'm still here, and so I sort of in that time, it was like I'm sick. I'm 70 years old. Instead of crawling up in a corner, I got the most active and the most expressing of myself. I started out in terms of uh, okay, I lived in Costa Rica for 10 years and did a lot of things. And when I came back to Ithaca, Cornell hired me as a visiting entrepreneur to take all their intellectual property. So, in a place like Cornell, people invent all these things, but they'd like to see it turn into companies to create jobs. So, I started off helping Cornell for 3 years. And then I decided I wanted to go out on my own. And I started out investing in female founders and just I try to invest in people that don't have other people helping them, who deserve it, who are smart, who are ambitious, but don't have rich relatives or don't have the right connections uh, to raise $100,000, let's say, to get started. So myself, along with I have all different partners. Um, we found who we thought were the best and brightest in Africa, solving the biggest problems. And we get involved, not just with money, which I've invested a lot of money, but, almost being like an uncle or a parent. Um, there's not a lot, as you suggested, there's not a lot of older people who are successful going to help people in Africa who really could use it. So that's kind of I have a personal thing that I have a specific, the doctors have told me, a specific time frame for being alive, and I want to make something of my life. And it seemed like helping young Africans has been the most satisfying, and really make something happen in a way I couldn't really do in the United States.
Wow, honestly, looks like you've you became a hero for them. And in that situation with the sickness, with everything, it helped you, like to find a new passion and give
Yeah.
maybe something like a life, but to different people who really needs that. And that's really amazing story behind it. So it's I not say that's something like Robin Hood story, but that's really kind of a great move. Great move, yeah, that's it. But help people which really need that. And again, that's really so rare initiative. And here I have another interesting question. So you said about African companies, African people, but what is the key initiatives you've work on in Africa? Maybe maybe you can tell us about companies or products which you helped, like to grow by your investments. So it's really interesting what exactly had happened in African companies with you.
Okay. So I could go from right, the general to the specific. And
Yeah,
so, okay. So, sorry. Um, One of the things is figuring out where in Africa uh, we feel safe to invest and where there's so much, you know, infrastructure stuff and government stuff and this and that, that, you have to be very careful when you're investing far away from home. So one of the things was figuring out where I feel the future is in Africa and safe and the safest. And then really finding local partners. Like, as smart as I might be in this experience, it's you don't understand another country unless you're really from there. So having been very successful in Costa Rica, when I got to Africa, I met some very trustworthy African partners, and so we generally invest together. And then I also I also just find uh, like specific problems that are African, that don't exist here, that really need a solution. So I'll tell you, one of my biggest investments and most focus is a company called ShipRaiser, based in South Africa. And what it is the last mile delivery. So, like in the US, when you get a package from Amazon, they just put it on your porch and drive away. But in Africa, you can't do that. So, how to actually get the thing into somebody's hands, is a real issue throughout Africa. So we've launched in South Africa, doing very well, and it's a real need that with e-commerce growing and just the specific safety issues, we've built a platform that's becoming widely, adapted, and so that's one of them. Another company that's based in Botswana that you know, again, these are two, like in ShipRaiser, Sahil, the founder, is just somebody, we connected. And I wanted to help him. I wanted to make his dreams come true. And so I became the first investor. Um, Another company that I'm very excited about is based in Botswana with my partner Muketsi, a young Botswanan. We've been working together for a couple of years, and I think we found, you know, the winner. So basically, My Stocks Africa is a platform to collaborate all different African stock exchanges. So, in other words, you can trade on one platform throughout Africa, whereas now everything's disjointed. A lot of the issues we're solving are things that are just really time wasters, inefficient, and finding logistics in order to make things happen. And so it's exciting because in Africa it's happening for the first time. A lot in the U.S. A lot of these things already exist, or in Europe. So that's really the thing: is finding locations, finding the leaders of tomorrow, and then adding both, you know, money, but also help, also just to be there for my founders. And I think that's what's unique is getting money is one thing, but getting people to love you, to care about you, to meet I know the families, um, you know, it's more than just a business thing. And so at 70 years old with a terminal disease, it's given my life some meaning, and young Africans have, for some reason, taken to me. I get a lot of correspondence and requests.
Wow, that's really fantastic. Because yeah, it looks like it's not like one specific niche. It's like lots of perspectives there. And I'm really so curious to ask this. So you said that you are looking, of course, first of all, on the location, and you are searching for the top talents. And after that, you are actually helping them to grow. And as I understood, hello, hello. But before we will continue, I just wanna let you know where you can find the best product design and web development services, and that's the company called Juvencore. So here in our company, you can get the most tremendous and exciting UI UX design services combined with web development skills. Moreover, you can use our excellent calculator staff just to collect your order, because again, Juvencore is where unicorns are made. And if you want to get your $1 billion company, you definitely need to have a nice design and development co-founder. And Unicore focusing on B2B startups, products, any other technical company, especially in Web3, AI, and fintech fields. So here you can see a bit more about our benefits against agencies, freelancers, hiring processes. So it's always better to have your own in-house team. So don't hesitate. Explore our services in our website, evencore.com. Explore our case studies, and let's make something beautiful. So looking forward for you below. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and let's move on. It's not like just to give them money, it's like a smart money, would say. So you are not just like, hey, take my money and do something. No, you just becoming a friend to them. You're just trying to be like a mentor for them, as I understood. And that's fantastic. And my question, um, what is the, like key criterias which you identified for yourself while selecting specific talent from Africa? Maybe you have, like some specific signals which when you see them, you are like, yeah, that's my man. I have to do this.
That's a great question. It starts off honestly with a feeling. You meet somebody and you have a feeling. We all do, but then you have to back it up. So um, when I find that person, I sort of get to. This is very old worldy, but we kind of get to know each other first before we really talk business. So um, you know, I have to figure out who can I help the most. Um, and when I do that, it becomes like the personal relationship and the trust first, and then we talk business. And I think that's different than a lot of the world, but I think that's a really solid way to do things. So, and I haven't honestly, for all the people I've chosen, some will work out better than others because these are obviously high risk investments. But every single person I've invested in, I'm proud of, for their efforts. And also, one of the hilarious things is for someone who's 70 years old with a terminal disease, choosing investments that might take 5 years to fully develop, 5, 7 years. And so, in a way, I feel like it's sort of like my legacy. It's like at some point, the way I've kind of helped these people, these founders kind of grow up really and become leaders. Um, as I fade out, I know that a little bit of me will be with all of my founders, and yeah, that's it's you know, you go by the numbers, but you also go by the people. Oh, so here's the quality. This is the answer to your question. The quality in Africa that I value the highest isn't necessarily being the smartest, but it's sort of being the most resilient. So things don't, when you're doing early stage startups in Africa, things don't always go as you planned. You have to keep shifting and tweaking and shifting, your concept. So I go for people who won't give up. Um, in richer countries, people can fail and just walk away. But for the people I'm backing, often this is like their chance. This is their one opportunity. And so I want to choose people that when it gets hard, they don't crack and they don't give up and just say it's too hard. That we rethink our proposal. And I think that's the quality in general, but in Africa in particular, that you need to succeed because it's not, it's hard to foresee all the things that will come up. Whereas in like the US or Europe, things are a little more predictable.
Yeah, actually, it's answering my question fully. So let's say resilience. That's the most like important. If that person can stay in the like the biggest storm, it will be successful. Wow, interesting. And honestly, yeah, I'm just actually I'm thinking about that right now from my perspective as well, because I'm not as well from the US. I'm not even from, let's say, European Union. I'm from Ukraine. That's a bit
But
complicated and different because usually it's as well lack of opportunities. And yeah, I would agree here is your resilience. It's always when you able to stay in different uh, obstacles, really inconvenient obstacles. It's always a signal that you will able to win this if you will stay in these times. But interesting, you said a lot of like great words about investment, people you met during that, let's say, career. But have you ever failed with the investment in African companies, or everything was great always?
no, I've had things that, aren't going as well as we planned, and I have others that are getting much bigger than we thought. But the thing about it is they're not fully realized yet. So I won't be able to answer that question for a few years uh, because the things are still growing. But um, I'm very positive. You know, it's impossible for all of them to be successful. But really, when you invest, our hope in these early stage companies are the ones that are successful will be so successful that they make up for some things that just the circumstances didn't turn out that way. And here's another answer to your question. Though I get asked a lot, do you choose? I spoke about different countries and people. People ask me often, do you invest only in certain verticals, like only in uh, financial stuff, or only in healthcare, or only in? And I say no. There's so many opportunities in Africa. I try to do things that I can be helpful in, that I have some knowledge of or some connections, but um, but I don't limit it to just one sector because there's just it just depends on what comes our way. Um, and I'm also there's so few of me and so many people who are deserving there, really bright, ambitious Africans, that it's really hard. Like you can't help everybody. And so the idea of trusting your instincts, you have to make choices of who you could help and who they're nice, but you can't help everybody. And I think for a lot of investors in places like Africa, um, that's common. There's a frustration of there's not like if anything from this interview today, it would be to get alliances with other parts of the world to invest in Africa. Like this is here, I'm talking to you in Ukraine, and we have events where the European Union came to Cape Town and had a big mixer, half Europeans, half Africans, and try to get the combination of investors, founders, and talent, how to use each other. And honestly, I'm from the United States, but kind of going away from the US. looking toward Europe, looking toward India, looking toward other places that have that could be in our mix. And I think Africa is the future. I mean, that's where the opportunity is. That's where the population is, where people are growing into the middle class, and it's the youngest place on the planet. So um, these are hard. Uh, I just love the you know just the vibe relative to the U.S. Like people are much more down to earth, and we get much more personal than some of the U.S. businesses that are really business just number based.
Gotcha. For me now it's clear. Hmm. Yeah, honestly, I would agree with most points. And yeah, actually, why it's a future, I honestly every like what is the future is the countries for like people the community which is growing really faster, and for example countries which are not in the top right now, they are continuing to grow, they wanted to be on the top and they're moving faster than countries which are already on top because they don't have such motivation. So yeah, now it seems logical to work with that type, like uh, of the market size of the market in general because it's full of the perspective. But I really wanted to ask you as well another question about that. All of that idea sounds really maybe crazy for a lot of people, I guess, from the US for sure. But you like brave guy because you decided to do this. You've took all these risks and moving forward. And it's interesting. What is the main obstacles while investing in African companies? You already know the location, the government issues, and understanding of the culture. But maybe you have some, like specific things which are obstacles in your mission.
That's a great question. Um, okay, this is how it seems to me as being somebody brave who's been in for a number of years in Africa and in the most risky parts and really get in the ground. I really know the people. These are like my children. I don't have any biological children, and so these people I've chosen have become like my family. Um, so I think what it is when I say to people in the U.S. that I invest in Africa, they think I'm now getting a little more normal, but they think it's so out there. Like they're picturing like elephants walking down the street. They're not picturing this high tech world of young people. Uh, so I think a lot of it is people from, let's say, the U.S. or Europe understand each other in a certain way, but when a lot of the big money thinks about Africa, they just like get confused. They're like they don't really understand Africa. When you bring all you have to do is bring somebody, from the U.S. or Europe or Japan or whatever, India. You come to like a place like Cape Town, South Africa, and like I'm living on the beach. You got the mountains. It's a super startup world, very up to the minute, fashion wise and food. And people don't picture Africa as being modern. You know what I mean? Like they picture it as they saw it in some movie as a kid. And so I think that's the biggest thing. It's not the reality of Africa. It's people's preconceived notions that did not depict Africa as it is, but in a certain way that's much wilder than it needs to be. Then is all. So I think a lot of it is just when people come and actually spend time there. I could talk till I'm blue in the face, and I could and I can uh, introduce startups, but so much of it is just getting people comfortable in the environment, and then they can look at it more open-minded because it is the opportunity. It is the future. The future doesn't feel like it's the United States. It feels like it's places like Africa.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Everybody, that's where people are going from poor to the middle class. and going from young to middle age. So it's like all the things that helped, like in the USA, grow after World War II, like in the 1950s, 60s, is now Africa. It's like going fast. People are quickly getting their first everything, their first car, their first house, their first, and so that's the future. It's really just how to get people comfortable. And I found the best way, honestly, was just saying to somebody, why don't you just come to Cape Town for a week and I'll introduce you to, my founders, to the ecosystem here, to the investors and just to a good lifestyle. Um, so I think I feel brave, at 70 to really open at 70 and be told, I don't have very long to live. I've opened up my life more since I was diagnosed and started going to Africa than I did my whole life. So it's it's a
Oh,
very
no.
exciting time, and I don't feel like I have forever. So I feel like I want my voice to be heard, and so far so good. The hardest part right now is I haven't been feeling great from my kidneys, so I have to be careful on my traveling and be a little easy on myself. So this is a great, thanks for inviting me today. This is like great for me. It right now it just takes too much out of me to do, major travel.
Honestly, Steven, I would say you are reminding me Christopher Columb, and because you are opening new world. That's what you're doing right now, and that's fantastic. That's something what actually that's a mission, that's lifelong mission, I would say, and that's a lot of people asking what is the sense of life. I guess that is the sense of life, helping other people to live their life when you're able to live your own. And the paradox here. You are living longer and longer while they living and remembering you and knowing you because you help them. So that's how like the world can be better if everyone will be kind to each other. Hello, hello, but before we will continue, I just wanna let you know where you can find the best product design and web development services. And that's the company called HumanCore. So here in our company you can get the most tremendous and exciting UI UX design services combined with web development skills. Moreover, you can use our excellent calculator staff just to collect your order because again, Unicorn is where unicorns are made. And if you want to get your $1 billion company, you definitely need to have a nice design and development co-founder. And Unicorn focusing on B2B startups, products, any other technical company, especially in Web3, AI, and fintech fields. So here you can see a bit more about our benefits against agencies, freelancers, hiring processes. So it's always better to have your own in-house team. So don't hesitate. Explore our services in our website, evencore.com. Explore our case studies and let's make something beautiful. So looking forward for you below. Thank you so much for watching this episode and let's move on. They're able to open new worlds to each other. That's fantastic, I would say. And yeah, honestly, I had like a couple of last questions, but you already responded to most of them in the last speech about your like motivation behind it, your mission and vision behind it. And my maybe main.
Here's,
Mhm.
here's something I was thinking of along the same lines. Um, you know, when you're rich and successful, it's really easy to get money and to get support. Okay. When you're not yet successful and you don't have a lot of money, who helps you? Who helps those people? And I think I'm as you're from in a tough situation, in Ukraine, and I'm a minority, so I live in the United States, but I'm a child of immigrants. So I come from, always feeling like an outsider. And so it feels like it would be a waste of my time to work on Wall Street or Silicon Valley to do stuff that is already done. When I go to Africa, it's like it's really needed and it really has an impact. And when I think about being told, like I was told, I have a few weeks to live, that was 3 years ago. Um, kind of doing all this stuff gave my life meaning. And so I'm really excited about being alive, even though I have a terminal disease and I'm 70 years old. I work with mostly young people and I do my best to help them become their best. I just want them to be the leaders. I'm just trying to, you know, be like cheering them on and making sure that they don't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, you said about 3 weeks in life. I believe that's the reason why you're living right now. That something which God gave to you because you decided to help to live in the other people, and that's a miracle to be honest. Because again, you've been diagnosed, and
Yeah.
boom, as you said, I'm living right now. So it's like something happened. So wow, that's really crazy.
I think when you get told that you have a limited time to live, like I have basically 4% kidney function, I don't do dialysis, and they have no idea why I'm alive. Um, but having something, having something to be excited about just keeps me alive. I think that's part of why I'm still here and why I'm excited, and I don't want to waste any time. And it's exciting when I see my children, you know, you know, be a little more successful and hire more people and have a little more money. Um, and then the whole idea is, this is what I think. I think governments have fallen short. All governments, it's corrupt, but somehow us investing and creating jobs uh, is really, we think the way to do it is we help create companies. They hire a lot of people. Some of those people start companies, and that's how the world works. And it's it, and so you know, it's kind of it's bearing itself out because it's just a matter of getting more people to join us in investing in Africa. I think that'll be the next step.
Fantastic. Now it's everything like is settled, and yeah, I guess the reason of that living and actually that's a kind mission of helping different people to build their own life. And my final question for today's show. Um, what is your like main recommendations for everyone who wanted to build something, but they not living, like in the environment where it's possible, but they have resilience and wanted to do that. So what is your recommendation for young generations, let's say?
Great question. And I get asked that a lot because it's hard to get noticed when it's such an imbalance of uh, capable people needing support and so many less people there to support them. So, this is what I think. Uh, get yourself out there. Don't sit home and say, I wish somebody would do it. There's all sorts of ways you could present your ideas, pitch sessions, conferences. Now, here's the one of the secrets that people don't think about. They think, okay, I got to show, all I have to show this business plan and all that, which is true. But my biggest connections came just in being at sorry, is like being at some event and just waiting for a bottle of water or coffee and talking to somebody, and that became the connection. Like, not the formal reason why I was there, which was to have some sort of meeting, but the people, like, keep your head up. Don't look at your phone so much and just smile at people and say hello, because you never know who is who's the next person, the next situation that's going to help you. And so I think getting out in public and, networking and, making a good impression on the people you meet and following up. One of my secrets uh, has always, in my whole life, has been not that I'm necessarily the smartest, but like I follow up on everything. Like if I meet somebody and I saw it was good, I'll just write them a short note that it was nice to meet you. We should talk, um, to just be more active and not be in your head so much and just get out and say hello to people. That's the understated strength that happens when you have the kind of personality to just walk in a room of strangers and kind of be comfortable for you to be comfortable with yourself and be comfortable meeting them, and then people reach out to you to ask you more about your thing rather than you trying to sell it.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Honestly, I really don't have even the answer to this because you said that, and I'm just like, okay, but how it reflects on my life, what I'm
Yeah,
doing is that, how I'm making that connections, how I'm building trust, how I'm showing the resilience, and how I'm moving forward, what I'm doing to move forward, what I'm doing to stay in the line and move on. And I guess everyone at this moment of listening you have the same thoughts like me because you know you're but older than me. I'm 22, so like you are like my grandfather. And I'm just like, okay, that's a couple of generations, so I'm completely in the way in the position of people to whom you talk right now, so that's as well interesting point.
it's you're right. I mean, a lot the people I'm connecting with could some of them could be my grandchildren without a doubt. And there's something sweet, there's something really sweet about that because unlike in the U.S., which is a very youth culture, I found in other parts of the world a certain respect for people with experience and wisdom. And so in Africa, because there's not very many people in my category, my age and experience, um, young people actually have a lot of respect for older people in a way that you don't see that I don't see in the U.S., where this is definitely the youth culture here.
Yeah, exactly.
And
uh
yeah, so it's I think you have to, when you get like, let's say, okay, so I have lots like 100 plus people a month just reach out to me like that and ask for help, and I can't help them all, but when some of them come in there, they're just very humble, but they'll stay in touch. It'll be like, well, that sounds an interesting idea, but you have to show me that there's a market for it and that it's working. So people will stay in touch and say, look how I grew for these 6 months. And then, and so there was a time about 4 or 5 years ago in Africa, if you had a good idea, people might invest in you. And it's really tightened up. So I'd say this is in probably a lot of developing parts of the world. Um, where
yeah,
it used to be just a great idea would get you going. Now we want to see like 6 months of sales. Let's say you're at zero. We want to see you get $25,000 a month in this, and then 30,000 or 40. And so it doesn't have to be fully realized, but I think at this point you have to be able to show some traction, not just a good idea. And
yeah,
that's what's changed few years. I'd recommend like don't come. Here's a tip: like don't go too early. Don't with certain people. You're going to have one chance, right? You're probably going to have one chance to introduce yourself and your idea to them. If you do it too early, a lot of times they're just going to say, "Well, that's interesting, but show me that it works," and then we're more apt to support you. So that's a more current expression of the market. is there's no good ideas anymore. You got to have, sales and
Yeah,
a path to profitability.
definitely. All right, Steven, I would like, like to close this conversation on that topic. Because yeah, we know we need to go fast, but we always need to stay calm and use every moment in the best possible way. And I want to thank you so much for this amazing, amazing episode because you are maybe the oldest person I ever talked in this podcast, but you are maybe the most younger one from, like energy, spirit of your mindset, and in general about your, like attitude. So I would say big, big, big thank you. I want to wish you stay happy, healthy, and when I say from bottom of my heart, you are making amazing, amazing job by helping people across the world.
Thank you, Taurus. This is real. You inviting me is part of the whole thing of like reaching out between different parts of the world, different people, and as you just said, different ages. Like I'm the oldest person you met, but I am pretty young in spirit and ideas, and I live like a young person, even though I'm 70. So thank you for feeling that from me. And as we go forward, again, keep if I could ever help you, just feel free to reach out. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will follow up you in the WhatsApp right now, and thank you so much for this episode. It was cool.
This was awesome. Pleasure to meet you and your audience, and I look forward, to continuing.